yeah, boy, it's that season again. It's time for some DLC. Yes, as we've literally just had announced, the newest DLC coming to Warhammer 2 will be the Wood Elves versus the Skaven. And these factions will be Clan Moulder versus the Heralds of Ariel, headed by Throt the Unclean and the Sisters of Twilight. Now, on top of these two new DLC factions, we're also getting a free DLC faction, the Wargrove of Woe, which is being led by Dryker. Now, just looking at her, she's clearly a Tree Spirit type unit, so it's a pretty safe bet that any of her mechanics and her units and how her campaign works will be based around the Tree Spirit type thing, rather than the more traditional Wood Elf ranged. We're getting 3 new factions, and yes, the free DLC Lord won't be in as much detail, but if you recall the last DLC, Imric was the free DLC Lord, and he's pretty in-depth. So yeah, you should be pretty excited about the free DLC and the DLC. I know I am. Now let's break down every single thing that we know so far. But before we get into anything, I just want to let you know that all the details to do with this DLC, faction overviews, units in battle, everything that I can think of to do with this DLC will be covered right here on this channel. So be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss a video. Just be sure to stick around till the end to find out the upload schedule for this specific DLC. Right, now let's break down every single thing that we know so far. Now, of course, both these factions will be playable in the Vortex campaign as well as the Mortal Empires campaign. Now, first things first, it wouldn't be a new DLC pack without some new units. So let's start off with the Skaven. Now, first of all, of course, you have Throt himself. He is the master mutator of Clan Moulder, and he is sure to be one of the most monster-centric lords that we have seen in the Skaven roster yet. With 3 arms, he is sure to be as deadly in combat as he is in the laboratory. He's also come with a legendary hero called Gorich, and this guy is a monster with the mind of a Norscan berserker. So, even though we don't know anything about him so far, we can assume that this guy is going to whoop some serious candy ass. Packmasters are the new hero type being added to this game, so these aren't legendaries, you can just recruit these at any time that you want. And these guys are kind of a support unit that's going to focus on assisting the monsters, you know, since it's kind of the theme of this DLC, you know, the monsters for Clan Moulder. Makes sense, really. Now, the Skaven are also getting a new chieftain unit, which we actually can't say too much about just yet. All we know is that it's coming, and it looks pretty cool. Now onto their actual units. First up we have the Brood Horrors, which seem to be just some giant ass rats that will be horrifying to face on the battlefield. We also have Mutant Rat Ogres, which are basically rat ogres that have been experimented on so much that they've become something different entirely. They're kind of an abomination on top of an abomination because, to my knowledge, rat ogres are pretty much an experiment anyway. But it seems these guys have taken it to the next level, becoming as much machine as they are monster. The final base unit that we're getting is Wolf Rats, and these seem to be, you know, the Dire Wolf or the Warhounds version that the Skaven have, and that's really great because the Skaven don't really have anything that fills that role. Yes, we have Doomflayers, but a wolf type unit that's got many entities inside of it can wipe out, you know, retreating units or the backlines of archers extremely quickly, much quicker than Doomflayers. So that will be an excellent addition to the roster. Now, of course, we're also getting some more regiments of renown. So we have the Pit Fighters of Hell's Deep, which are a rat ogre unit. We have Morskitars Hellion, which is a mutant rat ogre unit. And we have the Thing, which is a Hell Pit abomination. And can I just say, naming department, fantastic on that last one. You really put the effort in there. Now for the Wood Elves, starting off with the Sisters of Twilight themselves. Now, these guys were one mind initially and one person, and then they got split apart, so they're kind of 2 halves of the same mind, if that makes sense. Now, very on brand with the Wood Elves, these guys will be able to attack from a range, but also they won't be too bad in melee. This is because, as I said, they're 2 halves of the same mind. So, you know, they kind of got one half is the mind that is really good at shooting archery, while another half is the mind that is really good at slicing and dicing with swords. So I'll be very excited to see how they work. We're also getting Spell Weavers, which are basically the Lord version of Spell Singers. Pretty straightforward. They'll probably just be a little bit tougher and, you know, get a couple different mounts. Very nice there. Also getting Zotes, which are an ancient reptile centaur type creature, so probably similar in shape to a dragon ogre. Me personally, when I first saw these guys and heard about them, I thought they were going to be a lizardmen unit. But I suppose that shows you just how little I know. Also getting Great Stag Knights, which are pretty much like your normal Wood Elf cav, but instead of riding on, you know, just normal horses or some deer, they're riding on gigantic great stags. And these things are about the most majestic thing I've ever seen since Squidward Fallen Over. Also getting Blade Singers, which are Wood Elf infantry that while everyone else was studying the bow, they were studying the blade. And finally, save this one till last, we're getting Queen Ariel as a legendary hero. Now, I don't know much about lore, but even I, as a complete noob, know how much of a big deal this is. Queen Ariel, right, this is just some stuff I pulled from the wiki, so bear with me here. She's the Queen of Athaloran, presiding alongside Orion. She's one of the most powerful spellcasters in the world within the lore, so we are sure to see her doing some great spells when she gets onto the battlefield. And also, she's a demigoddess, so I think she's going to be pretty tough to take out, even though she's just a spellcaster. So I cannot wait to get my hands on her and see how powerful she is. Finally, they're of course getting some new regiments of renown, and they're getting the Lost Silver Knights, which are Great Stag Knights. They're getting Enigmas of Jiran, which are Zotes, and they're getting the Wraiths of the Frozen Heart, which are of course Dryads. In case you've been living under a rock, we're alongside this DLC, we're also getting a Wood Elf rework. And of course, as I mentioned at the start, all of this content, the Wood Elf rework, both DLC lords, all the units will be covered right on this channel. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification, you're really going to need it. I promise this schedule, it's going to be hectic as hell. I'm going to try my best. But anyway, the new mechanics coming. I'm going to come back to the Wood Elf rework in just a moment. I'm just going to cover the new mechanics coming in with both these factions. So for Clan Mulder, they're getting the Flesh Laboratory, and this is basically a way to mutate the monsters of the Skaven roster to make them even more disgusting and even more powerful. So you can now grow new monsters as well as augmenting existing ones to create truly unique variations on every single unit in the Skaven roster. Now you can stack as many mutations as you want on each unit, but the more you do it, the more there is a chance that they're going to become unstable and start to seep in some negative effects alongside the positives. But worry not, even if you get a completely unstable unit, you're thinking this is just unusable, there's no way I can take this with me, you can recycle units now. So instead of just disbanding them and get rid of them, you recycle them, which converts them into growth juice, which goes into the growth vat. This is disgusting. So alongside recycling units, a couple of other actions can be taken to fill up this growth vat, and once it gets full up enough, you can empty it out to get monsters. And the more full up you let it get, the better a monster you're going to get out of it. Now the new mechanic coming to the Wood Elves is the Forge of Daith. Now Daith, as far as I know, is just a really legendary elven smith, and he is on his mission to help out the Sisters of Twilight. He's going to do this by providing them with certain gifts of items and services to help them in their campaign. Now, we all know that items that you get on your lords and heroes can really make a difference in battle. You know, sometimes they have very minor differences, but once they get to the high tier, they can create seriously tide-turning effects. So he's going to grant them items that are unique to them, as well as upgrading them in several different ways that, again, completely unique to the Sisters of Twilight. You will not be able to get these specific items with these specific upgrades anywhere else in the entire game while playing as any other faction. That's all we officially know for now, but we have to assume that these items are going to play a large part in getting the Sisters of Twilight up into the stratosphere of power, or at least up into the power levels of, you know, Clan Mulder, since it'd be kind of stupid if they were way weaker. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, the Wood Elf rework. You may be wondering, what has changed? What could possibly have changed? You know, the faction wasn't that bad. You're wrong. They were terrible. And what has changed? Well, everything. Every single thing in the faction has been completely reworked. So let's just go through it as quickly as possible. Again, this will be covered in more detail in just a couple of days. So Amber, complete rework. You no longer need to use it for units and buildings. Can we just get a hallelujah? So the original research tree has also been redone to fit with the new Amber mechanic. Amber can only be spent on these 8 new techs in the research tree. Nothing else in the entire faction. How simple is that? And on top of this, Amber is only gained by doing one thing in the entire game, and that is healing forests. You may be wondering what I'm talking about when I say healing forests, and it's the next new mechanic that they have. Because, oh boy, this is detailed. So in Mortal Empires, the Wood Elves are still focused on healing the Oak of Ages to its former glory, and, you know, just making Athelloren back to the supernatural powerhouse that it once was. But now, instead of just having to do it in, you know, Athelloren and the Oak of Ages and the surrounding area, you now have to travel the entire world to several other new forest regions to complete this process. Yes, you heard me right, there are now several different magical forests spread across the entire Mortal Empires map, and each one you'll heal will provide special bonuses to the faction, as well as healing Athelloren. Forest health is built up over time by doing several different actions, such as securing the borders, performing certain encounters, and building certain buildings. Once a high enough level of restoration has been achieved, you can perform a ritual to permanently heal the forest, and it'll just give you the top tier bonuses until the end of the game, unless it gets burnt down, but you really shouldn't let that happen. Now, every forest has unique encounters with narrative choices that will shape the way that you heal the forest, so no 2 forests will heal the same. And if you ask me, that's a really good way to, you know, spice it up. You don't want to just think, oh, you know, I've got these bunch of new forests I have to do the same thing every single time. Having different choices and different encounters every time will make it feel fresh and interesting. And finally, the world routes have been slightly tweaked. Now, the world routes, as you remember it, it's just kind of like the underways. You know, you go underground, you pass impassable terrain, and that's still there. But on top of this, we've also got something new, which is called the Deep Routes. Now, the Deep Routes connect Athelloren to every single other magical forest in the world. And the Wood Elves can now traverse these Deep Routes. And, yeah, you heard me right. You can now travel from Athelloren or any of the other magical forests in the entire world to any other magical forest in the entire world. So you can go from one end of the map to the other in a single turn. That is insane. Now, there is a cooldown to this. We don't know the exact specifics just yet, but we can assume that it's going to be long enough that it isn't ridiculously overpowered. You know, it wouldn't be very fair if you could just make like 8 stacks and then just funnel them all into a magical forest and just, you know, roll over everything in the area. That'd be pretty ridiculous. But still, that is very powerful, and I'm very excited to see exactly how it works. Now, just to reiterate one final time, all of this content, the Wood Elf rework, the 2 DLC lords, their units, mechanics, every single thing you need to know about this upcoming DLC and the accompanying rework will be covered right here on this channel. Now, the upload schedule that you've all been waiting for, it starts tomorrow. That's right. Now, tomorrow on the 20th of November at 3 p.m. GMT, all these times in GMT or British time, whatever you want to call it. But yes, tomorrow I will be going over the Wood Elf rework in an overview. Now, to clarify, this overview, it's just going to tell you everything you really need to know. It's not going to go over every single detail of every single thing. Yes, I might show all the details on screen, but I'm not going to read them all out. It'll be a much more simplified and straightforward view, just to give you an idea of what it's like and, you know, set you up so that you know what you're doing when you first get into the new Wood Elves. On the 24th of November, in theory, you are getting not 1, not 2, but 3 videos at 3 p.m, 4 p.m, and 5 p.m. This is the Battle Embargo Day, and what this means is I can show you battle footage of each of the new factions. Now I'll be battling as Clan Molder, as the Heralds of Ariel, and as the Wargrove of Woe. So that's 3 different battles at 3 p.m, 4 p.m, and 5 p.m. GMT, so be sure to stick around and watch all of those. So yes, 3 videos, 3 battles, just simple battle commentaries. They'll be nice and short, and hopefully I'll manage to do that. If I don't, then you'll just find me in a ball crying. Now, on the 25th of November, the next day, that's the reason that we're having 3 videos in one day, is because the next day is the embargo for the campaigns. So I've decided the first campaign I want to show you is the Heralds of Ariel. So on the 25th of November at 3 p.m, the Heralds of Ariel overview. So this will cover, you know, their starting location, what their campaign is like, their campaign objectives, the new mechanics that they bring, everything that you need to know about their specific faction. Probably focusing on the Mortal Empires, but I'll mention Vortex because the only thing that'll change is, you know, starting location and some campaign objectives. Now, the next day after that, on the 26th of November, I will go over the Clan Molder campaign overview. So again, new mechanics, starting location, campaign objectives, everything you need to know about the new Clan Molder campaign. On the 27th at 3 p.m, 3 days in a row, actually 4 days in a row here, I'll be going over the Drake campaign and the Wargrove of Woe as a faction, any new mechanics they bring, any new units, everything you could possibly need to know about them in yet another faction overview. And the final video of this horrendously hectic schedule will be on the 1st of December. At 3 p.m, I will release a review of the DLC because, you know, it's all well and good knowing everything about all the mechanics and, you know, what they do, but you want to know if this DLC is any good, and I will let you know my honest, humble opinions on the 1st of December. And then the DLC drops on the 3rd of December, and I will sleep until the new year. So yes, that is the schedule, and that is everything you need to know about the announcement that we got earlier on. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then be sure to like. As I mentioned, if you want to keep up to date with all of this new content coming out, and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. It will honestly save you so much time just, you know, searching the channel name up every single time. I promise you, if you subscribe right now, just you, right there, Ron, just work with me here. Ron, if you subscribe, I promise I will stick to the schedule just for you, but only if you subscribe. If you won't, I'm afraid I can't do that. But yes, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it very, very much. So yes, I believe that is everything for now. I've been COLONELDAMNEDERS, and I really need to get back to work. So I will see you tomorrow.